Okay. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. B'ezrat Hashem, tonight we're going to be continuing Sefer Mesillat Yesharim. We did the introduction last time, Baruch Hashem, and we understood that we have a very big task ahead of us to understand what is it that we are required to do, what is our job, etc., and connecting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course. And today, the Mesillat Yesharim is going to take us step by step through one of the most important issues that every human being essentially has to ask himself. The first issue that we all have to ask ourselves when we become independent thinkers, when we become people that start to understand that there is some greater purpose in the world, is why are we here? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us here? Why did Hashem create us? What is our purpose here in this world? That is the big question. That is the million-dollar question that we're supposed to ask ourselves at some point. And the Mesillat Yesharim wastes no time in addressing this issue. This is called Chovat Ha'adam Be'olamo. What is the obligation of man in his world? Why did Hashem make him? There must be some purpose. There must be some understanding. And before we continue, I would just like to thank our sponsors for tonight's shiur, who are sponsoring Leilu Nishmat Giti Bat Yaakov. May her neshama go higher and higher in Gan Eden, B'ezrat Hashem. So this is the big question that we have to address over here. And that being said, let's jump right into the Mesillat Yesharim if you want. There are a couple of copies. Oh, you have one copy?
Thank you.
Okay. So it's Perek Aleph. You can take a book over there. Perek Aleph. Perfect. So says the Mesillat Yesharim, let's jump right into it. יסוד החסידות ושורש העבודה התמימה הוא שיתברר ויתאמת אצל האדם מה חובתו בעולמו ולמה צריך שישים מבטו ומגמתו בכל אשר הוא עמל כל ימי חייו. A person's obligation is to make clear and to make true to himself what is his obligation in this world. What should be his focus in his life? What is the point that he should be focusing on, that he should be working on throughout his entire life? The Mesillat Yesharim wastes no time in getting at the answer. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, "Ve'hine ma shehorunu chachamenu zichronam livracha she'adam lo nivra ela lehita'aneg al Hashem ve'lehanot miziv shechinato." Says the Mesillat Yesharim, you want to know why you're here in this world? You want to know what the purpose of your creation is? The purpose of your creation is to enjoy Hashem, to benefit from Hashem, to get pleasure from Hashem. Lehita'aneg means to enjoy, to get pleasure from Hashem. To enjoy the Ziv Shechinato, which means the radiance of His divine presence. Shezehu ha'ta'anug ha'amiti v'ha'idun ha'gadol mikol ha'idun she'יכולים להימצא. This is the greatest pleasure that could possibly exist, by far greater than any other physical pleasure that we are aware of. We are aware that there are such things as pleasure in the world. Pleasure exists, something which is which we are aware of. Good food. There are other pleasures that are in the world, but the point is that those they pale in comparison. They don't even come close to the spiritual enjoyment that a person will enjoy after a person passes away. And he's in the Olam HaNeshamot, and his life is not a life of physicality anymore, but rather a life where he's benefiting from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's divine presence. That is the greatest pleasure that exists. And the reason we were created is in order to get to that pleasure. So that's the answer to everything over here. Why were you created? We're not created for this world, but rather explains the Mesillat Yesharim, the reason that we are created is for Olam Haba, to get to Olam Haba. This world over here, explains the Mesillat Yesharim, is not the purpose of your creation. This world over here is a means to get to the purpose of your creation. The purpose of your creation is Olam Haba, the world to come. It's in order to get to Olam Haba. And the way to get to Olam Haba is by being here in this world. That's a very important fundamental principle that he has just let us in on. Huge. So important to understand that, because nowadays what they teach is that, at least in the public school system, they teach you that you're here in order to be successful. You're here in order to make a lot of money. You're here in order to have a nice house, to get married and have vacations. And that's the purpose of life. If you have nice vacations in Aruba, Turks and Caicos, then you are enjoying life, and that's what you're supposed to do. That's the reason why you were born, to enjoy life. And that's an old philosophy. However, according to Torah, that's not true. The purpose of life is not to enjoy this world, because that's a very big mistake. That can be compared to a person who goes to some kind of an affair. Let's say it's some kind of a great big dinner. And when he enters the room, there's a reception hall. The reception hall has some cocktails. They've got some, little things, that they hand out, finger foods. And the guy is enjoying himself, and he's delighting in all the different drinks. And he has one drink, he has another drink, he's got another drink. He's having a great time with the people. He's mingling, he's eating, everything good. He's there hanging out in the reception area for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And before you know it, the guy is completely smashed. He is out. He's knocked out. He's drunk out of his mind. The guy is so out of it that he's basically has to sit down, and he can't really enjoy the rest of his evening. And then before he knows it, they open up the big doors to the grand ballroom, and everybody sees the beautiful chandeliers, the beautiful tables, and everything is out there so beautifully. And this gentleman can't even walk in. He's out cold. Why? Because he wasted his time. He wasted his time on the reception hall, on the area before the grand ballroom. And that's a big mistake. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, a person that thinks that his purpose in this world is to visit Turks and Caicos every so often, to find himself in Aruba or wherever else he thinks that that's the purpose of his life, he's making a very, very grave mistake. That's the guy that is having a party in the reception area before he even sees the grand banquet. I had a roommate when I was in yeshiva that he really wanted to internalize this message very, very much. And before he would go to bed, he would cite the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. He would tell himself every single night, Rabbi Yaakov Omer. Rabbi Yaakov says, Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, Perek Daled, Mishnah Tet Zayin. Rabbi Yaakov Omer, Ha'olam hazeh domeh leprosdor bifnei ha'olam haba. This world is compared to a prosdor, to a hallway, a vestibule, on the way to Olam Haba, on the way to the world to come. Hatken atzmecha beprosdor. Prepare yourself while you're in the vestibule, which is the hallway, and then kidei shtikanes latarklin, in order that you should be able to enter the grand palace. In other words, the idea is that this is no more than just this entire world that you see here. Everything that was created here, all the vegetation, the herbs, the vegetables, everything that you have in this world, the clouds, the oceans, from A to Z, all of that was here in order to be your place to earn your Olam Haba, your place in the world to come. But that's it. There's no purpose other than that in the creation of this world, which is kind of shocking, because the way that we live our lives nowadays is that no, the purpose of life is this world. It's to achieve, to accomplish, be successful, to have money, to invest in all kinds of things that will help you to be what we consider to be more successful. It's counterintuitive. It goes against what society believes is the purpose of life. But the truth of the matter is, the Mesillat Yesharim tells us very clearly that this is all just a means. The entire world is not the purpose, but rather just a means in order to get to the purpose. What is the purpose? Olam Haba. It's a very important point that the Mesillat Yesharim makes. Now, why is it that we cannot get reward in this world? What's the reason for that? Says the Mesillat Yesharim The reason you can't get reward in this world, and this is a concept which we find many other places, is because it's like a person asking, if I go to a candy store and I bring a beautiful, expensive diamond, a diamond ring to pay for a few candies, it doesn't work out. It doesn't make sense. The value of what you're paying with is so by far greater than the value of a few candies that there's no way that you can even make such a sale with a diamond ring for a few candies. It doesn't make sense. So over here in this world, our bodies, our physical bodies, are incapable of understanding and feeling and enjoying that true enjoyment, that true pleasure that Hashem wants to give us. It's not possible because we're limited. We're not able to receive that in our present state, in such a physical state. It has to be in a state when our reality is by far more spiritual than physical. Only then will we be able to really delight in that pleasure. And Hashem wants us to get that pleasure. So the question then becomes, well, in that case, why doesn't Hashem just give it to us? Just give it to us. Give us that pleasure. Why do you have to go through this whole thing? You have to create the world, and you have to create, challenges and difficulties and so many, situations that a person goes through during his lifetime. Let's cut to the chase. You want us to have Olam Haba, so give us Olam Haba. Very nice. What's the problem? That's the question that we have to address now. And the answer to that, which is a very important question as well, is the question of when a person receives something, any person, when you get a gift from somebody, it's nice, it's pleasant, but how much can you take that? A person gives you a gift once, gives you a gift twice, that's nice. But already at a certain point, it's a little bit embarrassing to receive a gift the third time. It doesn't have the same feel, doesn't have the same enjoyment, which is, again, the purpose of our creation is enjoyment. Mesillat Yesharim says it very clearly, lehit'aneh, to enjoy, to delight in Hashem. If enjoyment is the purpose of our creation, enjoyment in the spiritual sense that we're going to have the most incredible pleasure after we leave this physical state, if that's the purpose, then it will not be reached if it is granted to us without earning it. Because if it's granted to us just as is, just by a gift, we will not be able to properly enjoy it because we will be ashamed that we've been given this as a gift. There's something called, in the words of the Zohar Kadosh, Nahama de Kisufa, which means bread of shame. Bread of shame means when a person, just like when somebody, God forbid, finds himself in a position where he has to go around collecting, he has to go around asking people for tzedakah because he doesn't have any way of earning a living or whatever his situation may be, and he's given a loaf of bread. That bread is there, and of course he accepts it happily because he needs it, but at the same time, that bread comes with shame because he doesn't want to receive his livelihood that way. So being that that's the case, the same is true with respect to our Olam Haba. That it's true, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could technically give us Olam Haba, and that's it. However, at the same time, that Olam Haba would not be able to reach our purpose that we were created for, because we would not actually enjoy it well because of the fact that we would be ashamed that we didn't earn it. And being that Hashem knows that that's the case, Hashem had to create a way for us to earn it. The way for us to earn it is this world. This world is the obstacle course, explains the Mesillat Yesharim. This world is the place where Hashem has given us the opportunity to earn our Olam Haba. And that way, when we earn our Olam Haba, our delight and our pleasure that we will experience after we leave this physical state will be a true delight and a true pleasure. There will be no shame because of the fact that we did what was required of us. We did what we had to do in order to earn it. and that will be the true delight and the true purpose. But that's a very important concept to understand what's going on. So now basically the fact that we're alive means that we are on stage. The people that came before us, they had their chance. Whatever happened to them, we don't know. It's all up in Hashem's eyes. He knows what happened. The people that have yet to come to this world, they are going to have their chance. But right now, the fact that we are alive, this is our chance. This is our turn to win our reward for the world to come, to reach that level of pleasure that we're trying to reach through properly going through all of the challenges that we have. That's very important. Now, that's the first paragraph of the Mesillat Yesharim over here. So our job is to use everything that is at our disposal in this world in order to reach that purpose. Anything that we have. And that's the meaning of what the Gemara tells us, Hayom la'asotam u'machar lekabel sechara. That today our job is to do, our job is to prepare, just like it says, Mi she'tarach be'erev Shabbat yochal b'Shabbat. The one who prepares on Friday is the one who will have food for Shabbat. Same thing over here. You prepare in this world, you will have your reward in the world to come. But it depends on what you do in this world, because this world is not the purpose, but rather the means. Very important to understand. Now, it's so important to understand that that's our goal. When this is your frame of mind, then everything becomes different. The world basically splits up into two parts. Things that get me closer to reaching my purpose and things that take me away from reaching my purpose. It's either or. It's divided up into that which is beneficial to me, that's that which helps me to reach my goal, and that which takes me away from my goal. David HaMelech says, the Mesillat Yesharim writes, V'ani kirvat Elokim li tov, I want to be close to Hashem. We're saying now, especially during the Elul season, we say every day, LeDavid, Sfaradim say it actually every day of the year by the end of the Tefillah, Achat sha'alti met Hashem ota avakesh shivti bet Hashem kol yimei chayai. I want to be in the house of Hashem all of my life. Why? Because that way I'm close to Hashem, that way I'm able to do things that will help me to reach my ultimate goal, to reach my purpose. So the line that Mesillat Yesharim says over here is very important. The kol zulat zeh, any action, any deed that is besides for this, sheyachshevuhu b'nei ha'adam letov, that people will consider to be a very good thing, but it's not getting you towards your purpose in life, eino ela hevel v'shav mit'eh. All of that is vanity, nonsense. A person spends $400,000 on a beautiful new car that he likes to drive around town on Sunday. Unbelievable. Vanity, complete vanity. It's not getting him towards his purpose. He's investing in the means. He's investing in this world, not something which will help him, benefit him in the world to come. Those same $400,000 given to people who need, to charity, to people who don't have food, that helps him to reach his purpose, because that's something which gets him closer to Hashem, makes him more like Hashem. He's becoming more like God. Just like God bestows kindness on others, he is also bestowing kindness on others. It's so important to understand this. Shlomo HaMelech says in Kohelet, Havel havalim amar Kohelet, Havel havalim hakol havel. What does that mean? It means everything is vanity, but there's a little twist. What does it mean everything is vanity? First of all, Shlomo HaMelech writes this very clearly because he knows what people will say. I just told you that a $400,000 car is a waste of money. It's got no purpose. It takes him away from life, and it's completely ridiculous. It's shameful that the guy spent $400,000 on a car. Okay, fine. I told you that. Well, somebody will tell me, well, excuse me, Rabbi, but have you ever owned a $400,000 car? And the answer is no. I've never driven a $400,000. So I don't know. So he says, well, how do you know? Do you know what it feels like? you know what the thrill of it is? How can you judge somebody? Where are you coming from? You don't have any right to say what you're saying. Here, it's a valid point. But Shlomo HaMelech had every possible pleasure on the face of the planet. He had an endless amount of wives that he could have been with. He had an endless amount of money that he could have had. Power. The whole world was coming to him for advice. They were bowing down to him. He had everything. And this person was still the one who said, Hevel Havalim, it's all nonsense. Every last thing that I have, that I gained, that I did, all of this world, all of the glory that I had in this world, I'm telling you, take it from me. It's all nonsense. You gain nothing from it. It does nothing for you. As far as your purpose is concerned, it doesn't do a thing for you. Trust me. So from Shlomo HaMelech, you can trust him. You can take it from him because he really did have everything. And he's telling you that at the end of the day, it's meaningless. That's why the words are not like I just said. I just said it's Hevel Havalim. But Shlomo HaMelech, the way he says it in Kohelet, is Havel Havalim. What's the difference between Hevel Havalim and Havel Havalim? Hevel Havalim means everything is vanity. Havel is a commandment. I believe it's the Ramban who points this out. The Ramban says the words of Shlomo are a command. Havel Havalim. Look at that which is Hevel. Look at that which is vanity, and in your eyes, turn it into Hevel. Make it Hevel in yours. Make it vanity in your own eyes. You have a misperception of what's really true, what's really good in life, what's important in life. Your job is to get the right understanding, to turn your perception around and to look at it from the eyes of the Torah. Havel Havalim. You have the ability to buy a beautiful $400,000 car. Who cares? Does it mean anything to you? Does it make a difference to you? Does it help you in your purpose? Doesn't help you at all. So why? Why should you do that? That's the point. Havel Havalim. Anything that takes you away from your purpose in life, anything, is not worth it. It's all Hevel V'Shav Nit'eh, says the Mesillat Yesharim. It's all worthless. So our job is to understand that everything is divided into one of two categories. Either it's beneficial to my purpose or not. So as we said, the Mesillat Yesharim has established for us that our purpose is Olam Haba, to reach the world to come, to earn a place in the world to come. That's why we're here. We're not here for here. We're here for there. We're here to invest and work in order to get there. That's our purpose here. Now, being that we said we have to earn it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a really, really difficult obstacle course. It's not easy. The Yetzer Hara that Hashem created in order to get us is very strong and very powerful. And that's what the Mesillat Yesharim is about to tell us. Hine, Samo HaKadosh Baruch Hu le'adam b'makom sherabim bo hamarchikim oto mimenu yitbarach. Hashem placed man in a location where there are many things that are in man and around man that distance man from Hashem, may his name be blessed. Vehem hem hata'avot hachomriot. These are the desires that are mundane, physical desires. Asher im yimashech acharehem, that if he follows after them, hine hu mitrachek veholech min hatov ha'amiti. He is now going and distancing himself from the true good. So now we're coming to the realization that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in a war zone. We are in a war zone. We're not able to be at ease. Think for a minute, sometimes the things that go on in the world, as sad as they may be, they may have some kind of ability to shed some light on us right now. Think for a minute about what's going on in Afghanistan for a second. You say to yourself, that's a war zone. The poor people that are trying to get to the airport over there, the American citizens, the Afghani allies, whoever it is that's trying to get to the airport and they're trying to get freed. And, you say to yourself, these people are unfortunately in a war zone. They're trying to dodge the Taliban. They're trying to dodge all kinds of terrorist organizations. They're doing so much in order to be able to reach their goal. But they are aware that they're in hiding. They're aware that they're trying to hide from the enemy. They're aware that there is an enemy. They are aware that they are absolutely in the middle, in the heart of a war zone. It's a terrible situation for them. We, believe it or not, are no different. We are we're placed in a war zone. We are constantly bombarded. That's what the Mesillat Yesharim is writing. There are so many attacks that are placed on us, constantly being bombarded with Yetzer Hara again and again and again and again from so many different angles, in such tricky ways. Sometimes you don't even realize that it's Yetzer Hara. It's so common that we have to understand that we're in the middle of a war zone. Once you have this awareness, then you realize, wow, I really have to take precaution. I can't just do whatever I want. I can't just do what everyone else is doing. I can't just go about my business the way that I normally do it, because I'm at war. At war, it's not, hunky-dory. At war, you got to think 10 times before you do something. Because what if this? You have to take every possible consideration. What about that option? What if they're hiding over there? What if they're behind me? What about this? What about, you have to think 10 times before you go. You're at war. It's not a normal situation. It's not a normal scenario. So that's what's going on over here. What's going on over here is that we have to understand that we are in a situation where if we don't properly prepare ourselves for the outside world that Hashem has placed us in, if we don't prepare properly, so then we are going to lose the war. Because a person who just walks around in the middle of a war zone when he knows that there are enemies that are attacking, it's like committing suicide. You can't do that. The people that are aware of what's going on, they're not going out there, they're in hiding. They're trying to save their lives. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Because this is the situation that they're in. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, Nimtza shehu musam. You are placed. I am placed. Betocha milchama hachazaka. You are smack in the middle of a war zone. Very important for us to understand that. So many different things that take us away. Abutai, there are different ways of explaining this, but you have to understand the Yetzer Hara is very, very, very powerful. Very powerful. It can make a person go almost insane, because the Yetzer Hara knows how to come at you. He doesn't come at you like a war zone. He doesn't, show his face that he's the Taliban trying to kill you. No, because he knows that if he would show his real face, that he's, ISIS trying to kill you, you would run away. But the truth of the matter is that that's what's going on, because you are supposed to fulfill your purpose, which is to get to Olam Haba. That's why you were created. His job is to make sure that you don't get to Olam Haba. That's why he was created. So therefore, he's the ultimate enemy. There's no enemy greater than him, because not only is he trying to harm you in this world, he's trying to take away your eternity. So he's the ultimate enemy. There's no enemy greater than him, because not only is he after your Olam Hazeh, he's after much greater your eternity, your Olam Haba, which is forever and ever. And he can win. He could take that from you. So, sorry, I saw there was a comment. I'll try to get to that a little bit later. So the idea is that our job is to, first of all, understand that the enemy is there. And number two, we have to understand that he is extremely smart and knows how to come at you. He will pretend like he's your friend. Think, for example, about somebody who, God forbid, gets addicted to drugs. Most people that are addicted to drugs never thought that they would get addicted. They weren't running after addictions. Usually what happens is there's the first step. They try it. And there's a breaking point where a person says, you know what, should I taste, should I try it? Should I put it in, inside my body? Should I not? They're debating back and forth. And what ends up happening is they say, you know what, just one time. And they do it one time. And everything, they get that euphoria, they get that ecstasy momentarily, that kind of feeling that they're looking for. And then they're still able to function as husbands, as parents, as whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. They're able to do it. So they say, okay, I did it one time. I'm not an addict. I did it once. So, it might not be right away, but perhaps 2 or 3 weeks later, the opportunity comes up again. They're at a party or something, whatever. And he said, okay, last time it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so harmful. This time also won't be so harmful. Does it again. And it becomes something that is not the end of the world to them right now. They used to say it was such a bad thing, but look, I did it once, wasn't so bad. I did it twice, wasn't so bad. And then, a few weeks later, situation comes up again. He does it again. And again, he's still functioning, but now it's becoming more of a habit. It's becoming, much more close to him, much more familiar to him, and he's getting more and more used to it until it happens, with less, time lapses in between, until he goes at it again and again. Before you know it, the guy's addicted. And he's no longer a good parent. He's no longer a good husband. And he's no longer able to keep a job. And the guy all of a sudden doesn't have any money because he's spending it all on drugs. And then the guy's life is completely in the shambles. Why? Because he took the first step in the wrong direction. So the Yetzer Hara originally wasn't telling him that, listen, I'm going to destroy your life. I'm going to take you and tear you apart, tear your family apart, tear your life apart. You will not be able to come back from what I'm about to do. He didn't say that. He said, just try it once. Just try it one time. It's not such a big deal. Once. Try it again. You enjoyed it last time, this time. Very innocent, but deadly. Deadly. That's what the Yetzer Hara is capable of doing. He looks like an innocent little, not such a big deal thing, but really that innocent little act that he's asking you to do is deadly. It can completely ruin your life. And in this case, what we're talking about, as far as spirituality is concerned, he can take away your olam haba, which is the whole reason that you were created to begin with. That's what he's capable of doing. Now, the reason that part of this is so difficult is because what we have going on in our world is that we are constantly bombarded with not only Yetzer Hara, but also what we know as peer pressure. So the thing is like this. The Yetzer Hara works not only in terms of the opportunity to do what's wrong, but he also sends challenges as far as the people around us, people who are close to us, people who we love, that they also give us challenges, our community. We see the way that people around us conduct themselves, and we know that there's a certain, what we call, quote unquote, normal. Normal, let's say during the summertime, is to go to the beach. Beautiful. The beach is great. Go to the beach. Let's say for a man, talking about now for a man. For a man to go to a mixed beach, without any question, 1,000,000% asur, according to halakha. Why? Because of the fact that he's going to be exposed to ladies that are not properly dressed, and he's not allowed to see that. No question, halakha, any posek will tell you that that is true. Whether it's a mixed beach or a mixed pool, fine. No question. Now, the question is like this. The whole world is doing it. Everybody's going to the beach. All his friends are going to the beach. All of his family is going to the beach. Everybody's going to the beach. Everybody's going to the mixed pool. Everybody's doing it. It's normal. If you don't go, you are not normal. You're the odd one out. This is what we mean when the Mesillat Yesharim says, Rabim hamarchikim oto mimenu yitbarach. There's so many things that push him away. You have become the oddball. Everybody else does certain things, and you don't do it. A bunch of people are going out to a restaurant. Is it kosher? No, it's not kosher. But don't worry. We're going to get only fish and salad and whatever. Now, they don't realize they're eating not kosher. because the salad probably has bugs and the fish was cooked next to the lobster and who knows whatever else is the problem over there. But again, there's such a peer pressure. It's normal, it's okay, and you're not doing that. You're the odd one out. You're the strange person here. So I heard a beautiful mashal. This mashal I heard from Rabbi Eli Mansour, beautiful mashal, about how to explain why it's ridiculous to think like that. The answer is the following. Imagine a person is invited to a wedding, and he goes to the wedding, and he sits down, and maybe he's enjoying the food a little bit. He wants to pay his compliments to the chef. He goes to the kitchen, and he starts talking to the chef, and they're having a beautiful conversation. He happens to notice that on the top of the soup, there's a bottle over there, and on that bottle there's a sign that says that it's poison. What's on top of the soup, the skeleton and the bones, that are going, like that in an X. And he's not so happy that the poison is on top of the soup. Okay, but it's there, and that's what it is. I guess something happened. Maybe perhaps a little something shook in the room, and the poison bottle falls right into the soup. Everything goes into the soup. It's all in the soup. But it's a huge, industrial-sized pot of soup, and you can't see it. And the guy starts to yell at the chef, "Hey, chef, did you see that the bottle of poison over there, what was it, rat poison, it fell into the soup?" The chef says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Don't give me a hard time." He says, "What do you mean, chef? I just saw it with my own two eyes. The poison fell into the soup. Don't serve it to everybody." He says, "Listen to me. I don't know. I thought you were here to give me compliments, but it looks like you're here to cause the trouble." And then, no, I'm not trying to cause trouble. I promise you, there's poison in the soup. Look for it. Listen to me. You better leave because I don't have time for this. I have a wedding here, 500 guests. He says, "You're gonna feed them poison. What don't you understand?" He says, "Get out of the kitchen. What's the matter with you?" He says, "Listen, it's a sad situation, but this guy doesn't believe him. The chef serves the soup to 500 guests, and everybody's about to get food poisoning. So he sees everybody's eating. He said, I try." He gets up. He starts to scream, "Everybody stay far away from the soup. It has poison." The Bala Simcha comes and says, "What are you doing?" The chef hears it's a fantastic caterer. He says, "Stop them from eating the soup. I saw poison falling." He says, "Get out of here, you lost your mind." And nobody listens to him. The whole place is about to eat soup with poison. Does this person at this moment in his life say to himself, "Well, nobody listened to me. I got here 500 people eating soup. Maybe I should have some of the soup too"? Right? Does that make sense? He would never say that, right? Because he knows there's poison in the soup. He might die, God forbid, from it. He knows it's going to harm him. It's going to do a very bad thing to him. It's not even a question. It doesn't even occur to him he should eat the soup. So over here, it's the same thing. The fact that you see that certain people conduct themselves in a certain way, as a matter of fact, more than just certain people, majority of people do things in a certain way, and they completely ignore, without even thinking about it, that this might not be the right way of doing things. Why? Because this is what everybody does. Everybody does what I'm doing right now. This is something common. It's the most simple thing. Why should I get dressed up modestly? Why should I do that? Other ladies don't get dressed up modestly. They like to be comfortable. They like to be attractive. They like to do things in ways that are, fashionable, things that are, they want to go with the flow, with the way that the people in Paris decided that they should look. This is very common. This is very good. It's beautiful in the world. What's the issue? The fact that everybody's thinking like that, does that mean that they're right? Does that mean that it's correct? Maybe they're completely ignoring their purpose in this world. A person who looks like that, who says that kind of thing, says, I'm not observant. I'm not so religious. I don't whatever. Now, before I say what I'm about to say, I don't, God forbid, judge anybody. Every person is at their own level, at their own place in life. I don't judge any person. However, when somebody comes and It's as if he's trying to tell you, I thought about what you do, and I don't, it's not for me. I'm not so religious and observant. You have to look at it from the eyes of the Torah perspective. Why were we created? Why was this individual who's telling you this, why was he created? What's his purpose? It's the same as all of us, to get to Olam Haba, to reach the Olam Haba. It's as if this guy is telling you, I have to go to California. Okay, beautiful. So what are you doing to get to California? Taking a flight? No. What are you going to do? You want to drive? Great. Where are you going to drive? I'm going to drive east. Why are you driving east? What do you mean? That's where I'm going. That's what I want to do. Well, wait a second. Why are you driving east? You're going to California is in the west coast. No, I know. So you're going in the opposite direction because you're trying to get to California? Yeah, I'm doing it on purpose. Doesn't make sense, right? A person who really acknowledges his purpose, he knows that he's trying to get to California. He's going to drive to California. He's not going to drive to New York, right? That's the idea. So over here, we have to understand that when somebody tells you that, I don't buy into this stuff. I'm not interested. I'm not this. I'm not that. It's all nice, but sorry. So unfortunately, this guy is completely headed in the wrong direction, missing the boat totally. Why was this person created? This person was created for Olam Haba, but this guy is telling you, I have no interest in Olam Haba. He's totally headed in the wrong direction. And it's important for us to be aware of that. There's a very nice mashal I heard from Rabbi Abraham J. Torsky, alav shalom. And he quotes Greek mythology, just to give you a little idea of what the Yetzer Hara is all about. Greek mythology, there's this thing called the sirens. The sirens were some kind of like angelic creatures that were very dangerous, very evil. And what they did was they would sing this great music that was so attractive to the ear that any ship that would go by this area, probably somewhere in the Mediterranean, wherever they were talking about over there, any ship that would head in that area would be so attracted to that music, they would pull over to the side, they would try and go towards that music, but eventually they would crash into these huge rocks and the ship would sink. And that happened to many ships. This is what they say in Greek mythology. So they say that there was this one captain that he said he has to hear this. He heard about it and all the ships sank. So he realized, but we're also going to sink. So what do I do? So what he decided to do was, he decided that he's going to tell his crew ahead of time, listen, there's going to be this music that's playing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put earplugs in all of your ears so that none of you can hear it. But I really, really, really want to hear it, okay? So what we're going to do is you're going to tie me down. I'm going to be able to hear everything. And even if you see that I'm kicking, screaming, yelling, whatever it is that you see me doing, don't pay attention to me. Just keep on going about your business, head on course, and everything will be fine, okay? So they set sail, they go on their trip, they're on their way, and they're heading towards their destination. And sure enough, as they reach this area with the sirens, so he starts to hear this incredible angelic music that is so attractive, and it just draws him in. He's so into it. He's starting to really, he wants to hear more of it. So he starts saying, go in the direction of the music. Now nobody's paying attention to him. They can't hear him. They all have the earplugs. So he starts saying it louder, more intense. Go in that direction. Nobody's listening to him. Then he starts to try and get out of the ropes that they tied him down with. And he says, go in that direction. He starts trying to pull out. He's starting to scream on the top of his lungs. Nobody sees him. And he's freaking out. He's going, go there, go there. As the music intensifies, he's going more and more and more. Nothing. And they keep on going. And they realize eventually that he was freaking out because of this whole thing that they weren't able to hear. Eventually they pass through the whole area and they make it through. This is the Yetzer Hara Botai. The Yetzer Hara wants our ship to sink, wants our boat to crash. And our job is to stay on course. Our job is to stay on course, to not let it get to us. We have to block out the things that will take us away from the Yetzer Hara. That's really the important thing that we have to understand. Now, part of the problem is that the Yetzer Hara many times comes to you like a righteous person. For example, I'll give you an example. Sometimes you have a guy, he likes to talk in the middle of the Amidah, likes to talk in the synagogue, and he approaches somebody, and you don't feel comfortable not responding. We have a rule, derech eretz kadma laTorah, that you have to have proper politeness and all of that. So you decide, well, I gotta say something. I can't just not to respond. It's not polite. So you engage in a small conversation. So here is the Yetzer Hara in the form of a tzaddik. He's saying, listen, you got to do the right thing. You can't just be disrespectful to a person. He says something, you got to say something back, etc. Meanwhile, there's a different solution. You just say, oh, sorry, I can't. Show him the siddur. Oh. And he'll understand that he's misbehaving. That's okay. That's okay. You can inform a person that he's doing something that's incorrect, and afterwards you'll have a conversation with him. Or another person that the rabbi gets up to speak, and a person decides that this is the right moment to start to learn a page of Gemara. It's of course it's great to learn Gemara. It's fantastic, but you have to learn the Gemara right now as the rabbi gets up to speak. That's not the time to learn the Gemara. That's not nice. That's not. It's a little insulting. It's not the right. Okay, but it's Gemara. Good, it's Gemara, but it's not the right time. So the Yetzer Hara will come at you and tell you, listen, you have to learn. You have a certain obligation, a certain quota you have to do every day, a certain thing. You got to do it. So again, the Yetzer Hara is coming at you as if it's a righteous tzaddik, but at the same time, it's something that is the exact opposite, taking you away from your purpose. So that's a very important thing to be aware of. Very common, very easy to go with the flow, to do what everyone else is doing. But our job is to say, no, that's not correct. Now, the Mesillat Yesharim says a very interesting point, and I think we should read it inside. It's the paragraph that starts, Ve'im ta'amik od ba'inyan. He says something really interesting. He says, I'll prove to you that this world, is there for you just in order for you to do good. He says, first of all, you have to understand one thing. This world is here for you. When you do the right thing with it, you elevate it. When you do the wrong thing with it, you bring it down. That's number one. He says, a person that is connecting to Hashem and he's using the world for the right purpose, hu mit'aleh, he is elevated, v'ha'olam mit'aleh imo, and the world together with him is also elevated. Ki hine ilui gadol hu labriot kulam beotam meshamshei adam asher mekudash b'kedushato yitbarach. It is a great elevation for the world to serve a person that is sanctified with the holiness of God. That's the purpose of the entire world, to be used as a means for sanctity, because that will get the person to Olam Haba. On the other hand, and he brings the proof. He says, we know by Yaakov Avinu, the stones, it says when he was on his travels to Lavan, it says he had to take a rest, and he had 12 stones, and each one was fighting over which one will be the one that Yaakov Avinu, the tzaddik, will use to rest his head upon that stone. Why is that so? Because the creation was made for this purpose, to serve, to be subservient to the needs of the tzaddikim, because that's why it was here to begin with, to enable this person to reach the Olam Haba. He says, and at the same time, if a person does the opposite, the person misuses this world for his own mundane pleasures instead of doing the right thing with it, then he takes the world down with him. Hu mitkalkel umekalkel haolam imo. He goes down, he gets destroyed, and he destroys the world together with him as well. Every act that you do has a direct effect on the world. It's kind of like what the Rambam writes. The Rambam writes in Hilchot Teshuvah that a person has to always view the world as 50-50, 50% averot, 50% zechuyot. The next act that you do will immediately tip the scale in one direction whether for better or the opposite. And it will have an immediate impact on the fate of not only himself, but of the entire world. This is a very important concept that our great rabbis are writing about over here. So our job is to make sure that we don't destroy it, that we don't mess up the world, that we elevate the world, that we help the world to reach its purpose by us attaining our own purpose. And this is the point that I wanted to share with you before. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, an amazing point. This is the paragraph that begins V'tir'eh. V'tir'eh be'emet, says the Mesillat Yesharim. He says, I'll prove to you that the purpose of our creation is not this world, but rather the world to come. You will see, says the Mesillat Yesharim again, Nobody will think that this is the reason that we were here for this world. He says, what is our life in this world? Who is totally happy and at peace in this world? He says, we live 70, 80 years. He says, he says, so many forms of suffering, so many illnesses, so much pain, so much worry that we all have to go through. And after all that, death. So he says, we know Hashem made us. You think Hashem made us for this? For suffering, for illness, for pain, for worries? He says, you think that's what's going on? That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world? That's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created you? He says, Echad mini elef lo yimatzeh she'arbe ha'olam lo hanaot v'shalva amitit. It's almost 1 in 1,000 that can really honestly say that he had a really beautiful, perfect life from age 0 till 120. Almost impossible to find such a person, he says. He says, V'gam hu, ilu yagia le-100 shana. And let's say the guy does reach 100 years old. The guy, usually a person at that age, already he's not functioning normally. This is what's the use? That's what the Mesillat Yesharim is writing over here. He says, think about what Hashem has given you. We know that in Bereshit it tells us when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam, it says, Vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim. Hashem blew into Adam a neshama, a piece from himself, a breath of his own breath was put into your body. Why does Hashem have to give you such a holy and special spiritual entity? A piece of God himself is inside of you. Why? Just so that you should go through life and suffer and pain and all these different things? If that was the purpose of it all, he says, there would be no logical explanation, no logical understanding to all of this. Especially, he says, if the purpose was this world, you think the neshama desires this world? The neshama has no interest in pizza. It has no interest in Lamborghinis. The neshama could care less about mansions and all these things and millions of dollars. It doesn't make a difference in the neshama. So you think the neshama was placed here for all of that? He says, you know how Hashem created man. He put a piece of himself in the man by blowing a neshama into him from himself. You think that he did that in order that that the neshama would benefit from these things? The neshama could care less about these things. It doesn't make sense. He says, you know what it's like? He says, he says, imagine you have a daughter of a king, and some random guy marries the daughter of the king. Now this guy, Baruch Hashem, he's a wonderful man, and he saves up money, and he buys her a beautiful ring. Since age 11, this girl has had her hand full of rings, full of bracelets, necklaces. She's the daughter of the king. She has endless amounts of jewelry. So for this, regular guy to buy her ring, yes, it was nice of him to do that, but it doesn't do anything for her. So the neshama, which is a piece of Hashem, all the money in the world, all the all the little things in the world that you can give, it knows what real pleasure, what real benefit is. It can't even compare. So he says, this is all proof just from the logical standpoint. If we know that this is how Hashem created the world, it doesn't make sense that Hashem created us in the way that we are, that we contain inside of us a holy neshama in order to go ahead and to live life for just the purpose of this world. It just doesn't make any sense. So therefore, he says, now that we've reached this understanding, now that we understand what our job is, we understand that our job is to reach the world to come. Our job is to get a place in Olam Haba. And by the way, we all know, it says, Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek la'olam haba. Every Jew has a portion in the world to come. However, the question is, what kind of portion? As you all know, just like in this world, there's some people that pull up in a, Honda Accord. There's some people that pull up in a Bentley, right? It's different levels, right? There's some person that he flies economy in the back of the plane, another guy in business class, another guy in first class. There's different levels, right? So too, when a person reaches Olam Haba, there's different levels. Everybody gets a chelek. If a person does what he has to do, but the question is, what kind of chelek? There's there's an apartment, there's a penthouse, there's a mansion as well. There's different levels. So that's going to depend on how good of a job this guy was doing. How well did he go through this obstacle course? How well did he manage to find his way through the war zone that he was in while he was alive? While we are alive, we are all on stage. Our job is to make sure that we do not fall for the tricks of the Yetzer Hara, and we have to make sure that we're not having a blast and having a party in the reception area before we even make it to the grand ballroom. It just doesn't make sense to do that. But sometimes we don't remember that. They say over a mashal about a peasant that the king gave him an opportunity. He says, I really like you. I want to give you an opportunity to come to my treasury. You can take whatever you want. You have 1 hour to do whatever you want in my treasury. So he says, amazing. He goes to the palace of the king, and over there the king greets him, and he says, you have 1 hour, but you have to greet your guests royally. If you're the king, he makes a beautiful banquet for him, and he displays all of his beautiful art. And this guy is running around, and he's enjoying the food, and he's having a blast. He can't believe it. He's in the palace of the king, and he's looking at the most magnificent works of art, sculptures, and all these amazing things he can never eat. This is every peasant's dream. And he's here, and before he knows it, he looks at the clock, and already 55 minutes have gone by. He hasn't even taken one thing from the treasure. So he realizes he has to go inside. What does it take? He starts to wander back and forth. And then he sees the clock is ticking 59 minutes. He grabs one little, diamond, and he runs out. That's all he's got time left for. That's what's going on. Our job is to make sure that we manage our time properly, that we use it in the best possible way in order that we don't mess up our chance, because we only have this chance. This is our chance. This is our opportunity to make sure that we do what we have to do in order to reach Olam Haba. Now we're all on stage. The fact that we're alive, we're all under the radar right now. And our job is to make the best of it and to do whatever it is that we can do in order to make sure we reach Olam Haba. So in the upcoming chapters, Be'ezrat Hashem, what he's going to do is going to, show us how to veer off from things that are problematic to us, what to say to ourselves, what to think to ourselves, the idea of alacrity, of being careful from certain things. Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us to reach that, God willing, soon. If we don't have a chance to learn before Rosh Hashanah, which I don't believe we will, I think I want to wish all of you a K'tiva v'chatima tova, a happy and healthy, sweet New Year for all of you and your families. Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless you all with shefa, bracha, v'atzlacha, and you should all be sealed in the book of life, Be'ezrat Hashem, until 120 years. Chazakim v'ruchim. With that, we will end. Chazakim v'ruchim. Wishing you all a wonderful New Year.
Thank you.